Heartbreak of a farmer. He sends more cows for slaughter today because of TB and calls for an extension to the badger cull.
It's emotionally draining. Each time, every 60 days, there's another lot go, and you've just got over the last lot leaving mentally, and then they come and take another batch.
But badger groups say the cull doesn't work. We'll have the latest.
Our other headlines tonight.
Good evening. There are calls for a badger cull to be extended to Wiltshire after a record number of cows were slaughtered because they were infected with bovine TB. More than 1,800 animals have had to be killed in the last year.
Opposition groups say the cull, which was trialled in Gloucestershire and Somerset, has not been conclusive. But the government is making more licences available for marksmen to shoot badgers on TB-infected farms next year. Scott Ellis reports.
The green disc means they're off to the slaughterhouse. If you've reared them from calves, it's the saddest of days.
Some of the staff actually had to leave last time animals left. They just couldn't cope. This will be 230 that have gone in the last 12 months.
He's lost a third of his herd in a year, and he loses 3,000 of the 13,000 litres of milk he produces here every day. And the testing of all his animals every 60 days costs the equivalent of £30,000 a year in labour.
So you think this is one of the badger sets right by one of these straw barns here?
Son George showed us a badger set on the farm. Because they don't trade cattle, they can't see where else the TB has come from.
Nothing has changed within the business to have caused a sudden major spike in the cases of TB.
The family wants a badger cull, as in other parts of the West Country, and that's backed by the Wiltshire NFU, which says the number of cattle lost to TB is now at an all-time high in the county.
In Wiltshire, there's now 172 herds under restriction. That's up from 160 last year, and that number is just growing year on year, month on month.
But others believe a badger cull is cruel, costly and ineffective. The Badger Trust saying TB rates in and around the Gloucestershire culling zones have increased. This afternoon on the farm, the infected cattle were taken away. George's wife had prepared the paperwork for the abattoir.
Seeing your livelihood going down the tailgate of the cattle lorry, it's very sad.
Well, at the current rate, it won't be long before we have no cows left, because they will have taken them all. They've taken over 200 animals in the last 12 months. Carry on the same, and it won't be long before we have none left.
A cull could start next year in Wiltshire, but only if 70% of adjoining landowners approve and they win one of 10 DEFRA licences.
Well, we can cross live to Scott now, who's on that farm in Wiltshire for us this evening. And Scott, do you think that Keith Withers will get that licence?
Well, Keith Withers, to get that licence, has got to form a company and he's got to apply for a licence. And there will only be 10 available for a cull period which will start next year and carry on for 4 years. And I'm told by DEFRA that competition is already very strong. He will also have to pay for the cull. It's several £1,000s a year for those 4 years. And as I mentioned in the report, it's got to be an area of 100 square kilometres at least. And within that, you've got to have the approval of 70% of the landowners, and some of them may be against the cull, some of them may be indifferent. Remember the Badger Trust and opposition groups saying the whole thing has been a waste of time, £22 million of taxpayers' money wasted on the cull, and that there's no evidence it works. Well, DEFRA would say, hang on a minute, we haven't finished the test period, you've got to wait till next year. But for example, the British Veterinary Association has already withdrawn its support for the cull. So it's highly controversial. The government's saying culling is just one part of a bigger project, and that project has got to go on for 25 years with the possibility of making the UK bovine TB free.
25 years. OK, thanks very much for that, Scott.
Scott Ellis there. The family of a teenager